My wife, 27, took a yoga and meditation class. She really enjoyed it, but not as much as I, 31, did. Her body got extremely toned and tempting, and I wasn't the only one that was tempted. I wish I would have gone with her or something, but I got off work too late. Soon my wife started coming home and seeming very satisfied and content, not like the ravenous female she usually was after class. She would just shower and go to bed, and it really bummed me out. I tried talking to her on the second night it happened, but she said she felt fatigued from her cycle. After I was sure that couldn't still be the problem, I tried asking her again if something was going on. She didn't give me any answer, she just did me a special favor she didn't usually do. I couldn't argue at that time. Since I wasn't getting anywhere by asking her directly, I decided to go to the yoga class a little bit before it was over. Through the glass window, I saw him helping her stretch. I didn't realize he was allowed to touch my wife. I never would have wanted her to join this class. Plus, I was starting to recall her saying that she was only signing up for the meditation part of it. When she got home, I wasn't sure what to say or do. I eventually asked her if yoga class was becoming easier the longer she did it. She said yes, of course. I asked her if the instructor ever had to help her with the moves. She looked at me a little curiously but said no. She asked if I'd be jealous. I was starting to get ticked off now. She lied and then wanted me to be jealous. I told her I would be disappointed if another man gave her special attention or got to feel her body even a little bit. She looked down and shrugged, quietly saying I didn't need to worry about it. I was not convinced. The next day, I left work a little early again and acted like I was on the phone outside the yoga class, but my phone camera was on and recording through the window. He wasn't touching her, but they were close for a room of 25 people. When everyone was dismissed, the camera recorded them going into the back room alone. Someone held the door open for me, and I snuck into the empty studio. I went into the hallway, still recording, and stood by the closed office door until I heard moaning. I opened the door, filming a few humps before the yelling started. My wife was in complete shock. The yoga instructor was furious, telling me to get out, it was employees only, and they were closed. I told him my wife wasn't an employee, and her legs were obviously open. He clarified that I was her husband, like a dumbass, all while I was still recording. He couldn't physically push me out, and he was the one in trouble. He put his hands up and said he didn't know she was married, and all he wanted was for us to leave because the business was closed. I filmed my walk out, waiting for my wife to follow. She came out 1 minute after me, looking like her life was over. She asked me if I could turn off the camera and we could talk. I told her there was nothing she could say to make this better. I had her on camera having an affair, so she wasn't going to get anything out of our divorce, and he was going out of business. She started sobbing in the parking lot, and people stopped to watch. She pleaded with me not to share the video. I told her I was definitely going to, and I sat in my car with it locked to post it on my pages and directly on the business reviews page. By the time I drove home, there was a buzz of activity and reactions. People commented saying they understood his temptation and how bad this was going to be for him. Some girls claimed he looked at them funny too. Whether or not he did, at least they got a little attention out of this claim. The divorce went extremely well for me, and all my wife could do was try to lay low. I know she no longer had a yoga class to go to, and last I heard she moved in with a friend of hers. I guess after I exposed his nasty business, AP lost all feelings for her. I hope he had a life backup plan like I should have had. I'm a little bitter, but I'm actually doing fine. I'm glad I had all the opportunities and hunches I needed to catch her in the act and file in court. I'm glad she didn't try to come back home, except when she got permission to get her stuff. She accepted the shameful truth and didn't try to beg for forgiveness beyond our conversation in front of the yoga place. She had to lay really low for a while, and I think she sold her stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Don't feel bad for her, though. She wasn't thinking about how much she loved me or how much trust I had in her that she was throwing away. Maybe that's why it was easier for me to let her go without feeling too bad. Thank goodness I have not started another serious relationship. I've been working and enjoying my time off work. I don't pressure myself for anything, and I feel peaceful. I'm glad custody wasn't an issue, and that I could display her actions for everyone to see. If you're going through something that just isn't right with your spouse, follow your gut, gather evidence, and stay strong. If you're scared, take the time to get to know yourself by journaling and thinking about things you want to spend your time doing. That's the best advice I can offer. OP, I am so sorry your wife thought it was okay to let a slimy yoga instructor put his hands where they don't belong. That being anywhere on her person. Respect and honesty are so important in a marriage or union, and she would have known that if she was mature enough for a serious relationship. The fact that it was his profession isn't really an excuse. It's just asking for trouble or encouraging feelings to develop. When you have this type of job, you have to be careful how you handle the responsibility that it entails. People should be able to trust the business as a safe space where they can be comfortable, and he failed to provide that by doing what he did. Your wife made a very bad choice to give up everything she had for a stranger that didn't and wasn't meant to stay in her life. What a pathetic thing to do. Anyways, let's get into our second story for today. My wife had a full-time job working as a barista. She was as passionate about it as any chef or barista would be. She quickly became branch manager and was responsible for hiring and firing staff. She would come home and talk about her coworkers, per the mandate of any wife, I think. She probably didn't think I'd notice that she started talking about one person way more often than the others. She added other names to her stories, but I started to have a hunch that she liked this one employee more than the others. I was minding my own business at work one day when my friend texted me with an urgent message. It was a video he filmed himself, 1 minute ago, of two people caught having sex in the back of a coffee shop. At first, I didn't know he just filmed it himself. I thought it was forwarded. I knew he worked at the same coffee shop as my wife, though. Before I watched it, I was going to send it to my wife as a joke warning for her to not do anything so stupid. I watched it first, though, and I could not believe my eyes. It was my wife on the video. You could clearly see her face and her dark, curly hair. She only took 2 seconds to pull up her pants, but she was 4 seconds too late. They just lost their jobs, and she certainly just lost her husband. My friend messaged me again, saying he didn't share it online or anything because he felt like it was my right. He said my wife was still working, pretending everything was going to be fine and the video wouldn't be brought to light. I thanked him profusely, even though I was in tears. I drove to the coffee shop, forcing myself to look calm and normal. My wife greeted me kindly, although she definitely seemed nervous. She took my order and made my drink. When she handed it to me, smiling, I took off the lid and threw it on her. I said, "That's for cheating on me," and walked out. Then I told my friend to post the video on social media. I shared it on my platforms and tagged anyone my wife knew. She was completely ashamed and fired. Then she faced charges for indecency and at least one other thing, I think. She had to go to court, where she was ordered to do community service and pay a fine. After that, she had to go to court for our divorce, where her infidelity was brought up again. She was tired of it and became irritated that she was facing so many consequences for sleeping with a man at work. After she moved in with AP, they split the pricey rent for 1 month. Then he told her he couldn't afford it and left to live with his mom. My wife didn't have the help she needed to get all her belongings out of the place before she was evicted and locked out. She trusted the wrong guy and made the wrong choice. I was so disappointed but proud of myself for following through with the divorce. She tried apologizing, but I told her I could only be married to someone I trusted. I heard her cry really hard only once, and I'm glad I didn't hear it anymore because I might have tried to forgive her. OP, you did really well. No one should have to cope with infidelity, but when they must, I hope they handle it like you did. You followed through with what seemed like the harder choice because in your heart, you knew you couldn't forgive or forget your wife's greatest shame. You have every right to be happy and fully trusting of your spouse by communicating honestly and growing close for years. Keeping a journal is a great thing for anyone to do because it helps anyone get in touch with their emotions and practice expression. Your wife probably had no idea she was only proving herself immature and selfish. Until she grows up and understands how important it is for her sake and her husband's that she remains loyal and honest, she doesn't deserve to have a relationship with anyone. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.